In this video, you will discover the weakness of the characters from One Piece, from those who keep getting lost on the map to the ones who map the whole world. And there are so many crazy weaknesses that, to properly understand what brings these monsters down, we're going step by step. Let's start with the weaknesses that affect the body, go through the ones that scramble the mind, and finish with those that break you inside, the weaknesses of the heart. So, welcome to Nerdopolis, and starting with the weaknesses of the body, the ones that not even the most powerful Haki can help you with, we begin with Gol D, Roger, the man who conquered the Grand Line, reached Laugh Tale, and became the first pirate king. But in the end, what stopped him wasn't an epic battle or a powerful enemy. It was an incurable disease. That's right, the only thing that managed to defeat Roger was his own body. And knowing that his time was running out, he decided to end his journey, dissolve his crew, and instead of disappearing from the world, he turned himself in to the world government. And the rest, well, we all know what happens after that. Moving on, we have Edward, but you know him as Whitebeard. And just like Roger, he had a weakness that no one escapes: old age. At his peak, the guy was known as the strongest man in the world, and with good reason, okay? But when he arrived at the Marineford War, age and illness had already taken their toll. He was hooked up to life support machines, surrounded by nurses. He was no longer that unstoppable force from the old days, and even so, he endured cannon shots, sword strikes, magma punches, and never fell to his knees. Whitebeard literally died standing. So, let's be honest, if he had been in full form, without sickness or advanced age, that war would have been very different. Now let's talk about Enel, and his greatest weakness is that you wear sandal. He was defeated by the famous rubber of the protagonist. He was practically invincible, had an absurd observation haki, in addition to full mastery of his Goro Goro no Mi. He really looked like a god. But then Luffy showed up, bringing with him the perfect counter. And as One Piece taught us, rubber is a great insulator. It makes Enel's attacks useless against Luffy, and even allows him to punch the face of the god of Scipia without even needing to use haki. We arrive at Frankie, and his weakness is the same as mine: a good soda. It's not just an addiction, it's what literally makes him function. Frankie's body runs on good old soda. If he's out of stock, the system freezes, his strength drops, and he basically becomes a robot in power-saving mode. Without soda, he can't use his strongest attacks or move at the speed we're used to. That's why he's obsessed with keeping his tanks full. If you take away Frankie's soda, you'll have a buff cyborg, but with almost no function. I get you, Frankie. That saying, "the flesh is weak," has never been truer here. The Black Leg may be one of the bravest fighters in the crew, but if there's a woman on the other side, the fight is over before it even begins. Sanji would never lay a finger on a woman, unlike Luffy. And as respectable as that is, it's already put him in some tough situations, like that time on Fishman Island, where he literally almost died just from seeing too many mermaids at once. But sometimes the body's fine, the Haki's on point, but it's the head that fails. Here we start talking about characters who don't even need an enemy to mess up. They do it themselves, and to open the weakness of the mind. No one better than the swordsman who gets lost even inside his own ship, Roronoa Zoro. He simply never knows where he's going, really. There are even videos on the internet just showing Zoro lost around. And you know what's funniest? Even when someone grabs his hand and shows him the direction, he still chooses the wrong path. Nami is a genius as a navigator, but when it comes to money, forget it. She'll do practically anything if some berries are involved. Remember that time she got really comfortable with the whole crew and then immediately charged 100,000 from each of them? She doesn't forgive. If someone owes her, she'll collect. By the way, can any of you tell me how much Zoro owes her right now? Because I've lost count. Another character with a very peculiar weakness is Katakuri, who can't resist a good donut. This serious, feared, and imposing commander has a true love affair with donut. His attachment is so strong that he stretched his mouth from eating too much. But the real problem starts when he's eating, because every time Katakuri goes to enjoy his donuts, he completely lets his guard down. He lies down, relaxes, and starts eating. The problem is that it becomes the perfect moment for an enemy to attack, exactly what Luffy did. And if that weren't enough, they say that if he doesn't eat his donuts, the guy gets depressed. So we're not just talking about a snack here, it's practically an emotional necessity. And speaking of peculiar weaknesses, we need to mention Brook. After all, it doesn't matter if he's in danger in a battle or on the verge of death. He always finds a way to say his classic phrase, "May I see your panties, please?" But where do you think this obsession came from? Well, I believe that since he spent 50 years alone on a ghost ship without seeing a single human being, his mind got creative, so to speak. Now, no matter how skilled Brook is as a swordsman, a simple pair of panties can throw off all his concentration, even though you'd think he'd have learned to stop asking after all the times Nami's hit him. Chopper has a weakness as cute as he is: compliments. No matter the situation, a fight, a surprise attack, or even a tense moment, if someone turns to him and gives him a compliment, that's it, he melts. He turns all red, sways side to side, hides his face, and it's automatic. It may seem harmless, but that reaction makes him drop his guard. And then, you can imagine. The truth is, Chopper is so pure that a simple compliment becomes his emotional kryptonite. And now it's Perona's turn. Her biggest weakness is something quite understandable: cockroaches. It might sound silly, but when Usopp covered her completely in cockroaches, she went into pure terror. And even though it was Usopp's hammer that knocked her out for good. It was the fear of cockroaches that left her totally vulnerable. Now let's talk about Rayleigh, and his weakness is gambling. Roger's right-hand man, the guy who trained Luffy and faced admirals, has an absurd weakness for betting. Remember in Sabaody when he was being auctioned as a slave? Have you ever wondered who in the world could capture Rayleigh? The answer, no one. He lets himself get captured, all because of gambling debt. The plan's simple. He lets himself be sold to pay off his betting debts, then escapes and even robs his buyer. And he did this multiple times because honestly, Rayleigh just can't resist a good bet. He might have the power of a king and all the experience in the world, but put a slot machine in front of him and he becomes a hostage to himself. And to close the weaknesses of the mind, we have Kid. His greatest weakness isn't a fruit or a power, it's Shanks, or rather, the red-haired pirates. Kid is known for being ruthless, daring, and one of the most feared of the worst generation. But when he crosses paths with Shanks' crew, he turns to dust. First time he challenged them, he lost an arm to Beckman. And even so, a year later, he tried again. And we already know the result, right? Shanks used the technique he learned from his former captain and ended everything. Kid, his ship, his crew, everything. So yeah, Kid's biggest weakness is facing someone he's not yet on the level to challenge. And the red-haired pirates proved that twice. And now, we've reached the final stage, the weaknesses of the heart. But before we see who suffers in this category, if you're enjoying the video, don't forget to hit the like button, Mugiwara. It's easy, it's quick, and it's free. And you'll be helping Nerdopolis grow even more. So go ahead, leave that like, and let's move on to the deepest weaknesses. And we're starting with Luffy. He may seem unstoppable sometimes, but there's one thing that can quickly make him lose focus, and we're talking about meat. He even believed that Doflamingo would give him meat if he returned Caesar. He was literally daydreaming about it. But the issue goes beyond hunger. Luffy truly needs meat fight. It's his fuel. Many times in the anime, we see him completely exhausted and powerless, and then someone gives him meat and everything goes back to normal. We saw this clearly in the whole cake arc when Luffy runs out of food. It's true he faced Big Mom's army without eating, but he couldn't have handled Katakuri like so. As amazing as his potential is, if you take meat out of his diet, we've got a problem. And since we mentioned the whole cake arc, let's talk about Charlotte Pudding, because her biggest weakness is Sanji. At first, she wanted to kill him during their arranged marriage. Everything was set up to deceive, manipulate, and pull the con. But then Sanji, in the middle of it all, looks at her and says her third eye is beautiful. And that was it. She completely melted. The truth is, Pudding's childhood was rough. Everyone said she looked like a monster because of that eye. Even her own mother, Big Mom. So she didn't expect much from anyone. And then comes Sanji, with all that politeness and charm, telling her she's beautiful just the way she is. That's where everything changed. She got completely flustered, and the plan went out the window. Sanji became her weakness, because near him, Pudding completely loses control. Now it's Big Mom's turn, and as insane as she is, even she has a weakness. And no, it's not sweets, it's a photo. Big Mom's weakness is the picture of Mother Carmel, the only person she saw as a true mother. Mother Carmel took care of her at the orphanage, and after accidentally being eaten, Big Mom kept the photo as her greatest treasure in life. And when Brooke broke that picture in half during the wedding, Big Mom lost it completely. She went full berserk mode, screaming, scraping her knees, totally losing control. It was one of those rare moments when she was truly vulnerable, and Big tried to take advantage of it, but failed. Still, the message was clear. Never touch Carmel's photo. Now let's talk about Garp, and his weakness is his grandson. Everyone remembers the Marineford scene when Ace was chained, about to be executed. Garp watched everything, holding back his emotions. You could see it was destroying him inside, and as much as we all wanted him to do something, he's a hero of the Marines. He couldn't just turn his back on everything. But then Akainu went there and killed Ace, and that's when Garp exploded. If it hadn't been for Sengoku, I'm sure Garp would have killed Akainu right there. So yeah, even if we still hold resentment toward Garp for not saving Ace, his weak point remains his grandson's. And now we have Boa Hancock, and her greatest weakness, of course, you know it, I know it, everyone knows it, is Luffy. The woman is literally Pirate Empress, one of the most powerful in the world, capable of turning anyone into stone with a single look. But when it comes to Luffy, she becomes a lovesick disaster, constantly blushing, daydreaming, even fainting just from thinking about him. But the feeling goes far beyond a crush. Hancock would risk everything for Luffy, and she's already shown that many times. Remember when Smoker had Luffy cornered back in Marineford? She stepped into that fight without hesitation, even while standing on the Marine side. And let's not forget that she was the one who smuggled Luffy into Impel Down. So yes, without a doubt, Luffy is Hancock's ultimate weakness. But come to think of it, Luffy is the weak point of many who just can't get him out of their heads. And I made this video to try to understand who is the most obsessed character with Luffy. But if you like the video, don't forget to leave your like, and thank you so much for coming to Nerdopolis.